Hello and welcome. You're watching India Market Open. Bulls in control all over the world, and I think that's something that we should be a little excited about this morning. The Street, of course, made a new record high as expected yesterday, and the euphoria is there. Wall Street's done okay. They go into a long weekend, so volumes are going to be light, and I think that's exactly what's happening across Asia as well. Volatile on back of thin volumes.
Yeah, I mean, I was circumspect last morning, and I thought that the markets would be skittish at higher levels, but from the looks of it, nothing like it. Banks, just the way they trended yesterday, non-HDFC banks, and today, with the support, as you're saying, Samina, the world markets are giving across the world. Kospi at new highs.
Yeah, Topics at a new high.
Europe did very well, and US markets ended well. So, yep, the going is good.
But I think I'm on the other side today, Niraj. Today there could be a day of a little bit of profit taking off the table. It's healthy.
Some point of time, yeah.
I mean, when we say profit taking, of course, we don't mean a big cut of any sort. A few points here and there is what's expected. A new record high, let's put it like that, may not be on the cards in today's day of trade. But all in all, it looks good in terms of global setup this morning. Like we said, a quick check on how the markets across the world are doing, but before that we'll do a check on what's happening across implied Nifty this morning. It's a flat morning like we've indicated. Don't expect too many fireworks from the get-go, but of course it could be a flat start and then the markets, actually it's not a flat start. 105 point gap up is what we are expecting, but there could be some indication of topping out in today's day of trade just for the near term. Asian markets are trading volatile, but just before I go into what's happening, actually let's take a look at what's happening at Asia before we go into overnight trade. Some of those markets that have hit record highs, so Hong Kong is doing quite well. Barring China, across Asia, most markets are trading strongly in the green. The Japanese market has also hit a record high. Now, this is interesting. They've gone back to record highs since 1989. So, because of the way the currency devaluation, the deflationary pressure Japanese markets have had, the levels what you're seeing right now in terms of the price action is back to levels of what was seen in December 1989. So 2008-86 is what was said on the topics for Japan. Japanese yen continues to be a bit of a worry. What we believe is traders are a little wary today and vigilant in that sense, because the last two times you had intervention from the Bank of Japan was on bank holidays globally. What that means is when volumes were light, they've come out, in fact, there were US holidays, they've come out and intervened in the currency market. Very likely that this could happen. Of course, it's not written in stone. It just goes to show that there is a little bit of vigilant trade across currency markets in Japan. Along with that, what we are seeing is Asian markets are watching out for data. You had some data that came out of Asia this morning, where Hong Kong's PMI has fallen to 48.2 from 49.2 in the previous month. This is the second straight month of decline. So China plus Hong Kong continue to look weak in terms of economic data in that sense. Japan, on the other hand, not looking too bad as we see it in early trade. Well, let's take you through what happened on Wall Street. Remember, they closed off for trade at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. They go into half of Wednesday and full of Thursday will be closed for Wall Street on back of Independence Day. So volumes were generally lighter than what we've seen usually, and no major price action, even though few records were made on the Nasdaq and the S&P. Well, you have a bunch of data points the markets will be watching out for. There was some that came out too in terms of trade. Nvidia continued to gain, so did Tesla. Tesla rallied quite sharply, jumped another 10% after it sold more vehicles in China than expected, and this comes in after the stock had rallied post-market closing on Tuesday as well. Nvidia was up 4.5%, so that of course helped Nasdaq as always. In terms of data points, private employers have added fewer jobs in June. This is the third straight month when payroll growth has slowed. So this is an important ingredient. This is private sector data that goes into the unemployment and employment figures that come out from the US. So if that is showing a decline, there is a good chance that unemployment could have risen in terms of data watchers' belief. Apart from that, unemployment claims have also ticked up. Trade deficit has expanded to a 19-month high, and service business activity has contracted in May, and manufacturing orders have fallen in June. So from what it seems like, weak data is usually supposed to be bad news, but for world markets or for US markets, it's viewed as a positive because it again ignites hopes of a rate cut that we haven't seen yet by the Federal Reserve. Treasury yields and the dollar were lower. Oil and gold and silver, on the other hand, gained on back of a weaker dollar. Most major cryptocurrencies also fell in trade. Trading volumes was muted across the debt markets and equity markets on Wall Street, and a similar sort of trend across Asia as well this morning, Niraj. So it's interesting. We live in interesting times. A weaker economy is actually good for equity markets.
Yeah. Two other things that stood out for me. One, Jeff Bezos planning to sell almost $5 billion worth of shares after record highs. So, it's not just happening in India.
Promoter stake sales happening worldwide.
Not just happening in India. So that is one that in terms of global news flow. And the fact that while last evening was all rumors around whether Joe Biden will drop out of the presidential race or no, this morning he's come out and vowed to stay in the presidential race as well. So that's the other big thing from the US perspective that maybe you just want to take note of. But so, yeah, a couple of things really, and post this debate, of course. But trade setup for our markets, I think it's just become difficult to call tops. Yesterday, as C.K. Narayan was saying when I asked him that, could the markets come back? And he said people have been calling for a pullback for a while and it's not happening. So it's very difficult to call tops despite all indications pointing to those. I thought that yesterday the markets would be skittish at higher levels. They haven't been. And today they will probably inch up higher as well. So that's part one. And I think global cues will just ensure that today, at least, the markets continue to edge higher in today's session. I think viewers, the highlight of the trade yesterday, to my mind, was not what HDFC Bank did, because it didn't end at the day's high. What ended at the day's high were stocks like Bandhan Bank, ICICI Bank, which started off lower and ended up 1% higher, Kotak Bank, Axis Bank. I think the non-HDFC Bank shares taking the bank higher, because if you remember the trade day before yesterday, HDFC Bank was the only one in the green. All the other banks were in the red. In yesterday's session, it was quite a bit of a turnaround, where a lot of other stocks went up and actually didn't start off that positively, but then ended up higher. So the bank Nifty propelled higher, not just because of HDFC Bank, but because of a lot of other stocks. Bandhan Bank, ICICI Bank, Federal Bank was anyways high, but ICICI Bank as well, or a Kotak Bank. Look at the way these stocks trended higher in trade yesterday, and that was actually the beautiful part from a bank Nifty perspective. And the other pocket that you really want to watch out for, we'll talk about it on the editor's cut, but defense. These guys are on steroids. For a HAL, yes, up 2%, but a Garden Reach Shipbuilders, Cochin Shipyard, Zen Technologies. Me and Samina were popping our eyes in disbelief at the kind of moves that are happening. At least I was in disbelief. I don't know if you were.
I think we've been seeing this for 3 months. Now I'm used to it. I'm used to finding one stock from the defense pack that usually does a 10-15% up move. But I don't think it's fair, Niraj, to look at those stocks as a one-day return. If you pull up all those names you mentioned, they are up 50, 60, even 70% in the last few months. So let's take a look. Garden Reach, if we can get a 1 month and a 3 month return on that, it gives you an idea of the kind of buying this sector has seen. Early part of this year, this was election trade. There you go. In 1 month, the stock is up 100%. So I was understating that number. Garden Reach up 92%. HAL up 26%. Take a look at Cochin and Mazgaon, because I think those would have done quite well as well. PEL is up 24%. HAL, BDL, Cochin Shipyard, like I said, another top gainer, 35% on that one. Mazgaon Docks, 75%. So in that order, it's the Docks, Mazgaon, Cochin, Garden Reach, Mazgaon, and Cochin are your top three gainers. BDL, after its stock split, has taken a bit of a break. HAL usually follows what BDL and BEL do. So it's the last mover in that defense space. So there you go. Like I said, it's been a slight relative underperformance compared to its defense peers, but still a top gainer on the Nifty 50. So in 1 month, it's up 13%. Let's take a look at HAL while we're at it. Like I said, it's BDL has taken a bit of a break. HAL is up at 26%. So I think if one had to call the next stock that's going to do well in the month of July, my bets would be HAL and Cochin Shipyard, only because these stocks move in tandem with each other. And I still remember that from Jan to June, the rally really was on back of the election play. We thought once the election would be behind us, these stocks would have taken a breather, but that's not how it's played out. Order wins are happening, Navratna statuses are being given out, global deals are underway, and all that is keeping the sector abuzz with activity. Garden Reach a few days ago won an order worth 1,100 crores. HAL is up 95% this year. So if wealth has been created, it's been created significantly in the defense pack. But just coming back to another point on the markets where I feel like the bulls may be in a little more control, look at the VIX. It continues to fall. It's down about 3.5% to trade at levels of 13. The PCR ratio also looks extremely comfortable. There you go. The VIX is down 50% in the last 1 month. So we are back at comfort levels at 13.21. So option costing as well is looking a lot more efficient, and that could be encouraging and a further upside. But what I would imagine is we may get a gap up, but it could be an afternoon where the markets will see some profit taking. Volumes are going to be low, so Europe may not see a big gap up, and hence the handover from there will keep us a little bit on the edge. But up until then, 24,000 remains important, and the markets will consolidate around those levels. 24,556 is an important level on the upside to be tracking. Well, that's what I think in terms of markets, but a quick check on the stocks you want to trade this morning. It's not your usual banking names, but it is the banking and financial sector that once again will be in focus. A couple of business updates, and remember, this is now the season. The next couple of weeks will be about business updates before companies start reporting earnings. So the trade really will be coming in from those quarters. The top one on the radar this morning is Bajaj Finance. They've had a stellar reporting. Their new loans have grown by 10% YOY. The AUM has grown significantly by 31%, and now that is eye-popping, and that's largely eye-popping because of what has happened in terms of regulation on that front. So there was enough and more data points that indicate that this could be here to stay. They've resumed, in fact, Bajaj Finance has resumed after sanctions and disbursal of loans under e-com and Insta EMI card, and the issuance of EMI cards after the RBI has removed the restriction on these businesses from the 2nd of May 2024. So that big bump up is on back of resume of business, of course. So you're seeing a lumpy sort of number in terms of AUM growth. L&D Finance also didn't do too badly. Their company reported portfolio realizations at 95%. Retail disbursements are also up significantly, so it's not just Bajaj Finance. In the case of L&T, it's up 33% YOY, and the retail loan book is also up 31% YOY. There are a couple of more business updates, and I'm sure Niraj will take you through those as well, for the likes of Bandhan Bank, which was a top performer yesterday. But I'll quickly highlight two order wins, two M&A activity. Persistent Systems could be a stock to watch. I'd also imagine IT could see some buying in today's day of trade, so Persistent may stand out. The stock was an outperformer yesterday too. They've talked about acquiring 100% stake in a US-based software company, Starfish Associates, for $20.7 million. And in terms of order wins, GE T&D could be one you want to track. They've bagged an order worth $64 million from France's Grid Solutions. So it could be a big mover today. They've already done 3% yesterday. Another couple of points in early trade is what I'd expect.
Yeah, and speaking of Q1 updates, because I think this is what will happen every single time now for the next few trade setups that we do, that we'll be bogged by results and Q1 updates. But it's not a bad problem to have. Suryodaya Small Finance Bank, the Q1 update, gross advances and deposits up 42% YOY. That's a large number out there. CASA ratio at 17.5 or 17.7. Gross NPAs improved quarter on quarter. Won't be surprised if this one has a bit of a positive move in the session today. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Watch out for Bandhan Bank, was a big mover in trade yesterday. Now what's happened is that the loans and advances are up 21.8% and deposits are up 22.8%. Ordinarily, I would think that this is a very good set of number, and I still think it is. CASA ratio at 36% versus 37.1. Nomura though came out with a reduced rating on Bandhan after this, of course, and their target prices are lowly 170. They say that while loan growth has picked up, CASA has declined sharply. To be honest, maybe Nomura is being a bit too harsh, but let's wait and watch. It's had a bit of an up move yesterday. I would have thought ordinarily that Bandhan could get rewarded a bit further, but Nomura believes that the Q1 has had some disappointments. So let's see. Difficult to call which way this one will react. So watch out for both of these on the financial side as well, in addition to Bajaj Finance, which was a hefty one, and we'll talk about it at Editor's Cut, as well as L&T Finance. And I thought the price hike from Gujarat Gas was interesting because while there is a price hike, brokerages don't seem too enthused by this. So IGL, MGL have done very well, Gujarat Gas hasn't. And Citi says that this price hike reflects margin concerns and will likely drive a volume loss for Gujarat Gas. UBS has a similar view. They say that the price hike could divert some volumes towards alternative fuels like propane. And therefore, let's wait and watch if indeed this stock, which is kind of sulked a little bit, could actually do more sulking. So that's the other one. And Samina, QIPs galore.
Yeah, Cello, of
Cello
course.
World,
Yeah, but
right?
just you want to talk about Cello before I talk about Brigade?
Yeah, just the stiff discount, right? 730 crores QIP for a company that is not very old in the in the listed landscape, and at a discount of 11.26%, which means that the book didn't see buying at those
higher levels,
current market prices. So it could be interesting to see how this one reacts.
Niraj, I mean, I don't know whether I'm right here, but in the last couple of weeks, all the QIPs or promoter stake sales that you've seen, I think barring CSB Bank, they've all come at a pretty significant discount. So, I mean, of course, that says something, says nothing is anybody's guess. But
exactly.
The fact remains that the markets are euphoric. Promoters are checking out or taking some portion off the table, but some of it is coming in at a significant discount. Another one that I think could be the stock of the morning is Brigade Enterprise. The reason being they've signed a JD for a residential project which has a potential of about 1.2 million square feet. The gross development value of this project stands at 1,100 crores. So this is a pretty big one for Brigade. We will try and connect with the management through the day to get a sense and understanding of what this means for Brigade Enterprise, what geographies this is as well. But this, in my mind, could be another gap-up trade on the cards. You talked about Bandhan. I don't know if you mentioned Surya, the small finance bank. That also
but good numbers,
has had a good set of numbers. Vedanta as well, their production has come in. It's up 3% YOY on back of better operational performance. It was also a trading call by a few analysts on the channel yesterday. So it'd be interesting to see with a fundamental news trigger that is positive, you may get a gap up because technically as well the charts probably were preempting this in trade. A couple of quick data, information update on the FNO place, FNO ban. Hindustan Copper and India Cements remain in the FNO ban. Indus Towers is now out of the FNO ban. So you've seen a muted sort of movement on the counter. But today could mark a day when you'll see big moves on big volumes emerging on that one. Stocks that have turned ex-dividend, you've got Tata Power, SKF, Solar Industries, and that's the movement. In fact, Solar was one of your big gainers in trade over the last couple of days. Today turns ex-dividend. Tidewater Oil and Balaji Amines. So that's what we have in terms of activity. Lots of action in the primary markets as well, but we'll track that in a bit.